Welcome to today's lesson on the modern periodic table. You're going to need a copy of the modern periodic table guided notes for this lesson. The success criteria for today's lesson. Describe the arrangement of elements in the modern periodic table. Explain how the atomic mass of an element is determined and how the atomic mass units are defined. Identify general properties of metals, nonmetals, and metalloids. And describe how properties of elements change across a period in a periodic table. The vocabulary for today's lesson are period, group, periodic law, atomic mass unit, or AMU, metals, transition metals, nonmetals, and metalloids. This is a picture of the modern periodic table of elements, ones that you're going to be familiar with and working with for the next few weeks. In the previous lesson, we know that Mendeleev developed his periodic table before the discovery of protons. He did not know that all the atoms of an element have the same number of protons. He also did not know that atoms of two different elements could not have the same number of protons. In the modern periodic table, elements are arranged by increasing atomic number of protons. A period is a row in the periodic table of elements. Period 1 has two elements. Period 2 has three, or periods 2 and 3 have 8 elements. Period 4 and 5 have 18 elements, and period 6 has 32 elements. The number of elements per period varies on the number of available orbitals increase from energy level to energy level. The periodic law. Groups. A group is each column on the periodic table. The elements within a group have similar properties. Properties of elements repeat in a periodic table in a predictable way when atomic numbers are used to arrange the elements into groups. Periodic law is the pattern of repeating properties displayed by the elements of the periodic table. Concept check number 1. What determines the order of the elements in a modern periodic table? Describe the periodic law. Now would be a good time to pause the video, answer the questions to the best of your ability, and then resume play to check your answers. What determines the order of elements in the modern periodic table? In the modern periodic table, elements are arranged by increasing atomic number. Describe the periodic law. Properties of elements repeat in a predictable way when atomic numbers are used to arrange the elements into groups. There are 4 pieces of information for each element. Atomic mass. Atomic mass is a value that depends on the distribution of an element's isotopes in nature and the masses of those isotopes. The atomic mass unit, AMU, is 1/12 the mass of carbon atom. The 4 pieces of information for an element are located here for chlorine. You have the name of the element, chlorine, the atomic number of the element, which is 17. Those are the amount of protons and electrons that chlorine has. The chemical symbol for chlorine is Cl. And then the atomic mass of the element is 35.453. The periodic table presents 3 different ways to classify elements. First, elements are classified as solids, liquids, or gases. Second, elements are divided into those that occur naturally and those that do not. All but 2 elements with the atomic number of 1 through 92 occur on Earth. Elements with the atomic number of 93 and higher do not occur naturally. Third, elements are categorized on their general properties. They are classified as metals, nonmetals, and metalloids. In the periodic table, metals are located on the left, nonmetals are located on the right, and metalloids are in between. Metals are elements that are good conductors of electric current and heat. Except for mercury, metals are solids at room temperature. Most metals are malleable, which means if you hit them with a hammer, they won't shatter. Many metals are ductile. They can be drawn into thin wires. Some metals are extremely reactive, and some do not react easily with one another. One way to demonstrate this difference is to compare the behavior of aluminum and the behavior of magnesium. When these metals are exposed to oxygen in the air, aluminum remains shiny because it does not react with oxygen. Magnesium reacts with the oxygen and quickly dulls, as shown in this picture above. There. Transition metals are elements that form a bridge between elements on the left and right sides of the periodic table. Nonmetals are elements that are poor conductors of heat and electric current. Because nonmetals have low boiling points, many nonmetals are gases at room temperature. All the gases in the periodic table are nonmetals. The nonmetals that are solids at room temperature tend to be brittle. When they are hit with a hammer, they shatter or crumble. Nonmetals vary as such in their chemical properties as they do in their physical properties. Some nonmetals are extremely reactive, and some hardly react at all, and some fall somewhere in between. Metalloids. Metalloids are elements with properties that fall between those metals and nonmetals. For example, metals are good conductors of electric current, and nonmetals are poor conductors of electric current. And a metalloid's ability to conduct electricity varies with the temperature. Pure silicon and germanium are good insulators at low temperatures and good conductors at high temperatures. Concept check number 2. What two factors determine the atomic mass of an element? Question 2. Name 3 categories that are used to classify elements in the periodic table. Now would be a good time to attempt the questions, pause the video, attempt the questions, and then resume play for the answers. What two factors determine the atomic mass of an element? Atomic mass is a value that depends on the distribution of an element's isotope in nature and the masses of those isotopes. Question 2. Name 3 categories that are used to classify elements in the periodic table. Metals, nonmetals, and metalloids. Variation across the period. The properties within a period change in similar way from left to right across the table, except for period 1. Across the period from left to right, the elements become less metallic and more non-metallic in their properties. The most reactive metals are on the left side of the table. There are 3 metals, a metalloid, and 4 nonmetals in period 3. If you were unwise enough to hold a piece of sodium in your hand, it would react quickly and violently with the water in your moist skin. But magnesium will not react with water unless the water is hot. Aluminum does not react with water, but it does react with oxygen. Concept check number 3. What major change occurs as you move from left to right across the periodic table? Now would be a good time to pause the video, attempt the question, and then resume play. What major change occurs as you move from left to right across the periodic table? The elements become less metallic and more non-metallic in their properties.